Am I the only one who thinks Joey has like a totally different personality when he's speaking Japanese versus
he becomes
when
different
he's speaking
person
English?
when speaking
It makes
Japanese.
me wonder if
It's
other
funny
people
how the
who
Japanese
were raised
speaking
bilingual
Joey
do
sounds
the same
polite,
thing,
despite
or
him
if
trying
it's
to be
influenced
angry
by
and
the
rude,
culture
while
of the
English-speaking
countries the
Joey
languages
sounds
come from.
instantly
I don't
rude.
speak
He
Japanese,
sounds
but
so
this video is still
different.
amusing.
Different
You sound like a
language,
different
different
person
voice,
when you
or is it
speak
just me?
Japanese. Really?
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going everyone? This is the Anime Man. So if you've been on my channel recently, you would know that I have been doing a lot of videos, or a lot more videos, where I've been speaking entirely in Japanese. Like the Kizuna Eye collab that I did the other day, which a lot of you enjoyed, and there will be another one coming up soon, as well as some one-shot unboxing videos that were totally not the result of me running out of ideas or anything. I have no idea why you would think something like that. And as you saw at the beginning of this video, I have seen a lot of comments on those kinds of videos of people saying that my personality changes between my regular English-speaking videos like this and my fully Japanese-speaking videos. And I realized that I've never really stopped to think about or really explore and examine why such a phenomenon might be happening in my videos, so that's what I'm gonna do today. Sound good to y'all? Good, let's do it. Firstly, for those of you who are new to this channel and have no idea what I am all about, then let me just say 2 quick points that will be important as we discuss this topic. 1, I am indeed a native level Japanese and English speaking bilingual. While I was born into a family that spoke both languages, I never really attended any kind of school for me to learn Japanese, so my Japanese is self-taught. And let me tell you, I worked my motherfucking ass off to get to where I am, trust me. And 2, when I create my YouTube videos, I portray myself exactly who I am. By that I mean I don't act like any kind of a completely different persona or any kind of character, unless you're talking about my Vegeta Review 69 videos, but that doesn't count at the moment, because he's not actually me. When you sit down and watch my videos, who you see on the screen right now is who you're gonna get in real life. I don't bother to put on a face or a different persona. I try and be as honest as I can because that's just how I am. I also can't act for shit, as is also evident in my Vegeta Review 69 videos. And that also applies with my Japanese speaking videos. If you know me personally, if you know my Japanese side personally, as my Japanese friends here do, then you would know that I act exactly the same way as I do on video. But while I say that, it's also interesting how I actually found my Japanese friends also commenting similar things about my supposed personality change between these 2 languages. Even though in my own mind, I don't really think about it, I just talk in either language like I would normally. Like, I don't really think like, oh, my Japanese side is now completely different to my English side. I have to talk about 2 distinctly different things or whatever. And you guys have seen that too. No matter what language I speak, I try and be my dumb, silly self in my videos. I say some dumb, stupid jokes that, you know, 5% of the time get a chuckle out of you. I criticize things that I think deserve some kind of criticism from me, or if I have anything to say. And I act the same way no matter what language I speak, because that's just who I am. So why are there so many people in my personal life and on the internet who say that my personality changes are so noticeably different? And well, I thought about it for a long time. I sat down and thought about what I was saying in Japanese, what I was saying in English, how I act in both situations, and I came to the conclusion that there is really only one thing, one aspect that is determining this supposed personality change: sarcasm. Look, I realize that me just saying that must have sounded really sarcastic to a lot of you, which is beautifully ironic, but hear me out. I think it goes without saying that I love being sarcastic in my videos. And I'm not trying to be overly sarcastic or anything, that's just who I am. You can blame my Australian father and all my Australian friends for just digging me into that kind of tradition so effortlessly. Regardless of whether you find my sarcastic humor ticklish to your funny bone, it's evident that it makes up a large proportion of my channel and a large proportion of my personality. But one noticeable difference that I've seen between this English-speaking sarcastic side of me and my Japanese side is that I don't really make sarcastic jokes in Japanese. And it's not a matter of trying not to make sarcastic remarks in Japanese, it's a matter of I physically can't be sarcastic in Japanese. A few weeks ago, I was at my cousin's place and she had just come back from a 2-month trip to Australia because she wanted to go and learn some Japanese in an English native country. You know, up her English levels because she uses English in her day-to-day job. So she thought, you know what, I'm gonna go to Australia, I'm gonna learn some English, I'm gonna learn how to speak better conversational English, I'm gonna get better at listening to English. So, I'm gonna go to Australia for 2 months, learn some English, and come back. Boom. And upon returning to Japan, she asked me this one particular question, which went something like this. Hey, cousin, I wanted to ask, what does this mean? When I was in Australia, I saw so many people doing this while they were talking, but I never understood what is this? What is this? I thought that was a valid question. I was like, oh, of course, she wouldn't look at this and immediately think of quotation marks because in Japanese, we don't use quotation marks to wrap sentences of speech together. We use a totally different set of symbols which look like this. And then I realized, no, it's not that she doesn't recognize this as quotation marks, it's that she doesn't recognize this as sarcasm. Because sarcasm does not exist in Japanese. I know that might be a weird thing to wrap your head around, but trust me, that realization shocked me just as much as it's probably shocking you. Yes, you heard me correctly. Sarcasm is a non-construct in Japanese. It is practically impossible for you to achieve sarcasm in Japanese as you would in English. And by that, I don't mean it's completely obsolete. I mean that the values of sarcasm in English completely differ to that in Japanese. When we say something sarcastic in English, for example, totally not the result of me running out of ideas or anything. I have no idea why you would think something like that. There are a few signs that you can pick up that note that that is probably a sarcastic remark. The tone in which I speak, the punctuation of certain words, and the overall gesture and demeanor of how I'm saying it and presenting it to you probably gives you signs that, okay, he's probably being sarcastic. He's making a cheeky remark for comedic value, but not to the point where it's completely obvious. Which is why I think sarcasm is a lot like sex. Everybody's exposed to it, but not everybody gets it. Sarcasm is not something that anybody can just say. Like, if you say it the wrong way, it can really make you sound like a total dickhead. And that's especially the case in the Japanese language. I'm sure you're all familiar with the whole senpai kohai system that exists in Japanese culture. If you've never seen it in anime, that I made a whole video on it, links in the description. But that very system is actually a binding for a lot of Japanese people concerning how they communicate with each other. A lot of Japanese people are very careful and particular about the certain words that they use and say in sentences because they run the risk of potentially hurting the feelings of the person they're saying it to. Compassion is another big idea that overruns Japanese societal culture, and so they can't just go willy-nilly saying whatever the fuck they think is on their mind and potentially hurting the feelings of other people. I personally wish there was more people like that in the West, but I'm not opening that can of worms today. This is why it's so hard to be sarcastic in Japanese without sounding like a complete dickhead. Japanese people just don't have this natural concept of playing the devil's advocate in conversation because there's no need to. Why would they if they can just resolve a conversation and conflict without potentially hurting other people's feelings by just being straightforward and to the point? The reason why a lot of Japanese people have this impression that Westerners are very straightforward and just say what they think is on their mind is because they're taking these potentially sarcastic remarks that a lot of Westerners say at face value. They aren't searching for any hidden meanings or funny remarks in these potentially sarcastic comments because they don't see sarcasm as a friendly gesture. And so I honestly think it's just that simple fact that explains the phenomenon of my personality change between my English-speaking persona right now and my Japanese-speaking persona. Because sarcasm and facetious remarks are what make up most of my humor and personality in my English-speaking videos, which are two concepts that are very, very difficult to portray in Japanese. Of course, that isn't to say that it's impossible to joke around and make funny remarks in Japanese. Hell, the whole reason why a lot of anime is funny even to Westerners is because it is straight to the point comedy. It's either situational or literal or maybe both at the same time, but it is almost never sarcastic. The only real example of like pure comedic satire that I've been able to find in Japanese has to do with really old Japanese literature that dabbles more in satire more than sarcasm. But I can make a completely different video on that, maybe a Japanese 101 video on that. So if you're interested, then I guess let me know. But yeah, hopefully this video clears up that whole thing about the personality changes in my videos or whatever. Of course, I don't blame anybody who commented on this supposed personality change or problem, because it's not really a problem. If anything, I'm actually glad that people pointed that out, because I would never have been able to see it myself otherwise. If anything, those kinds of comments just go to show that people are really paying attention to my videos and really just paying attention to my personality. So I'm really happy that people managed to comment stuff like that. It really warms my heart, so thank you. And hey, I got to do some research on sarcasm in Japanese, which I think is pretty interesting, especially if you're interested in Japanese, so everybody wins. Let me know what you guys think about this, and let me know if these kinds of personality changes exist with any of you guys, potentially some other bilinguals that are watching my videos that, you know, maybe aren't exactly bilingual in English and Japanese. Maybe it's between two completely different languages. I'm really interested to know that, so make sure to let me know all that kind of stuff in the comments below. But bottom line of this video is, I'm just happy that most of you guys are still enjoying my videos regardless of what language I speak and how much my supposed personality changes. It really does make me comfortable to speak Japanese on camera for you guys and show that side of me that I guess, you know, a lot of people who don't appreciate my sarcastic demeanor, you know, can get a glimpse of. So I mean, if you'd like to see me do more Japanese speaking videos like that, then, you know, let me know in the comments, you know, like this video, just give me a sign that you guys want that kind of stuff, and yeah, it might actually happen. But anyways guys, thanks for watching. As always, like and favorite if you enjoy, subscribe for more anime banner, and I'll see you guys in the next video of whatever I make. Keep watching anime. Ciao ne!